Thank you, everyone, for joining in here. I appreciate you guys making time for us. Let's go ahead and get right to it here, man. My guest this evening is a man who needs no introduction. He, of course, is the founder of the Roosh V Forum, rougev.com, and returnofkings.com, where I got my start. I'm speaking about none other than Roosh V himself. Roosh, how you doing, man?
Hey, Donovan, how's it going? I hope you don't mind my ghetto setup. I don't have internet at home.
Oh, wow.
So I found a cafe, and I am live streaming from this cafe. There is wind and people and sound, but
it's not coming through, man.
Okay.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great.
You actually look like you are in witness protection, right? Like the only thing you need are the sunglasses and maybe the newspaper looking from left to right.
Yeah, I'm sure the people that are around me right now think I'm some kind of homeless guy who can't afford internet. I'm actually wearing a hat because my hair is getting long and it looks pretty bad, so I need to hide that.
Hey, man, listen, nothing wrong with the hobo look, right?
Right.
All right, so let's go ahead and get right to it, man. So listen, the elephant in the room here is that you've done a complete 180, and you've renounced, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I want to make sure I'm getting the verbiage correct, I don't want to misquote you here. So you've renounced pickup, you've renounced fornication, premarital sex, among other things. Talk about why you've made this decision and why you've made this change, rather, and the series of events that led to this decision.
Well, first of all, I think my views in the past week especially has been grossly misrepresented. Okay. I didn't renounce it as much as change how I want my platforms and my work to be used. Now, of course, I'm not telling you, Donovan, or anyone else not to engage in sex or anything such as that, but it's really a personal decision that I have made for me. So everything that you're seeing stems from what I have to do in my life. But of course, if you have a forum, it's going to affect others too.
Of course.
So that's the number one thing. But anyone who's been following me for a long time probably saw this coming. Many people predicted that this would happen.
Wow.
I started to question. Yeah, I started to question and so on in 2013. It ramped up. I was no longer gaming like I was back in, say, 2010. And then a series of events in my own life, I was gravitating towards God. I mean, I was step by step. Now that I look back in hindsight, it's very clear. And then this year, about almost exactly 1 year after my sister died, I just kind of had a moment where I felt that this was the right path and that this was the path that I was going to go on. And once I made the decision for that path, then a lot of moral questions started to come up on, can I continue to do this? Can I continue to publish work which goes against this new mental orientation that I find myself in? So that's kind of how it happened. And really, I'm working on a lot of articles that are going to explain everything. But until those articles come out, when I've taken action, whether I pull some books out of print or I say on the forum I don't want it to be used for a certain thing, then yeah, a lot of people seem shocked, and I can understand that. I can understand why people would be like, "Whoa, your forum for 11 years. This was the hive mind. This was the central base. Masculine men talking about how to go out there and meet girls, and now you are changing that." And to that, I say, just have some patience and some understanding. I mean, if you haven't trusted my judgment in the previous decade or so I've been running these platforms, then you're not going to trust it now. But if you do, then just hang on. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride. But I do anticipate totally that men are going to get double the value that they have received from me in the past when I was just focused on helping men with their sex lives.
Okay, very good. And that's fair that you talk about the fact that in hindsight you can kind of you could kind of see this transition coming. So when exactly did you make this decision? Did it come to you? Did you wake up one day and say, I'm taking the God pill, or was it sort of a gradual thing?
It was, I would say that once my sister died, this was in March of 2018, I started to question a lot of things I was doing. I started to question everything.
Right.
And I noticed that I wasn't getting joy out of the things that I used to get joy from. So I used to at least get some joy from going to a club and picking up a girl and sleeping with her. And after my sister died, I still did that. It, in fact, brought me no joy. It removed joy. So the little bit of joy I have in life doing that act, which I was doing for such a long time, now it was utterly pointless. It didn't make any sense. So it was, so upon, in people who have lost someone close to them, they're in an intense stage of grief, they start to reevaluate everything.
Right.
And they start to ask themselves, why am I doing this? Or why have I been doing this? And has this behavior was really a distraction life itself? So then it happened earlier this year where I just had the urge to pray, just the urge. And I didn't know where it came from, and I didn't know how to pray. And for a couple of days, I made up a prayer. I didn't even know what I was doing. And that failed. And then a week or two after, I said, no, I want to do this. And so I just went online. I mean, just like how you learn how to meet girls online, you can learn how to pray online too. So I found a good website. And I started to pray. And then since then, and I just wanted to say is that during the prayers that I made, I just started asking God for advice, and I was getting answers back. I was getting answers, not just through my own instinct, through my own thoughts, but also through other people. I would ask for advice on some matter, and then a day or two after, a friend of mine, without knowing what I prayed for, would give me the answer. So I knew that this was something grander, something higher than what I was doing, and that me turning to God was most likely the right thing for me in the state of life that I was in.
It's interesting. One of the more interesting parallels between the red pill and God, and really any lifestyle change, is we usually find it after some sort of tragedy, or at least within close proximity of it. Most people find the red pill, and I mean, because of heartbreak or sexual frustration. My wife of 12 years cheated on me with her personal trainer. I don't know what to do. Or, I don't know how to get laid. I thought I was going to. This girl broke my heart, et cetera, et cetera. It's an interesting parallel between, as far as red pill and religion. Now, myself, it's interesting because I was raised in a very religious family. I was raised as a Baptist, and the older I become, the less sure that I am that God, as we define him down here on earth, I don't know. It's like, okay, listen, there at some point there has to be the uncaused cause. I get that. But when you take religion, you put it in the hands of mankind, we do some pretty perverted and distorted things with religion. What would you say about people who say, okay, Roosh, so you have found God, you found religion. There are a lot of people who are against religion. I'm not against religion. I just kind of find myself in this sort of 5-year transitionary period where I'm not really sure what happens when we die.
Now, first of all, I would say I don't know what religion is. Religion is a politician's term, and oftentimes religion is used to control others, to dominate others, to kill others. I don't know what that is. I just know my relationship with relationship and others. I don't plan to use religion to organize people.
Okay.
Control people. Well, religion is a source of that, that I don't know what that is. So every man's path is different. Like you said, a lot of men, they were brought up in a religious household.
Right.
That them in some way, and then they turn to game. They turn to the world, right? And for me, it was the exact opposite. I was raised more in a secular household. But the way I see it, there are two mental orientations that people have. You're either going to be living in the world totally, and when you do, you want to extract. Everything is for your benefit in the here and now. I want money and girls, I want to look attractive,
sure,
and so on. And if you're in that orientation, you're not going to understand the next orientation, the godly orientation. That's really to please God. That's to satisfy him. You are his servant, and and about trying to extract. So if there's a man watching right now, and I would anticipate most are, they want to extract. They want, like what had been doing for such a long time. They want things. It stems from I want. Tell me how to get what I want. Tell me how to receive the benefits that I believe those things will give me. So if someone is in that mode and you're not, you're in the godly orientation, you're not going to find common ground. This is why I went on the forum. I said, hey guys, I don't want the forum to be used to talk about casual sex anymore. Some of the reactions were so over the top, such catastrophic. The forum is dead. The sky is falling. They are stopping them. So I am stopping them. I am the barrier for them to receive the benefits that they want. But you only need to look at me. I was a world champion of game. A lot of haters will say, oh, Roosh is a virgin and blah, blah, blah.
Right, of course.
But I did better than 99% of men in terms of not only the motivation and will I applied it, but the ability I had to travel around the world and basically dedicate my life to it. This was not only a carnal pursuit, but I turned my job into it.
Yes.
So, I see myself as a world champion.
You're a black belt. Remember when you were detained?
World champion.
Listen, remember when you were detained? I asked you, so you're a black belt in women. That was funny.
Yeah, and the fact that I'm coming away from it should be a clue to at least some people. I'm not telling people to stop living their life how they want, but should be a clue that, man, this guy was a champion at it. He was so good. He was making a living off of it. I was banging hoes at night, writing about it during the day, selling the books, and then I'm walking away from that. I mean, that should be a clue that this sort of turn is likely to happen to people who find out that this extractive mode, you're going to hit a limit. You're going to hit a limit that when combined with another life event that you cannot handle or deal with, or that your self-improvement advice cannot help with, that's when your heart is softened enough to humble yourself before what I believe is the God that made us all.
You are literally blowing up your entire brand. Like when someone says Roosh V, this is who you are. You're the guy who wrote Bang Ukraine, Bang Estonia, Bang Poland, Don't Bang. I think it was it Don't Bang Denmark or something like that. Right. You've got all these books, and you're literally blowing up your entire brand because of this particular life change. What would you say to people who say that this is a publicity stunt, right? Guys who say, well, Roosh is only doing this because the red pill market is saturated. He sees that religious leaders make all this money. They get all these women. All this is he's just changing lanes. He's just changing lanes to continue to line his pockets. What do you say to guys like that?
They said the exact same thing in 2015. If you remember, there was a schism in the red pill.
Yes.
I broke with a lot of them in 2015. I didn't say I went to God, but I broke with a lot of the men who were overly monetizing and who I believe weren't really red pill. Anyway, okay. They said the same thing. They said the exact same thing. Everything I do is a publicity stunt to people who don't like me. I can't satisfy them. If I give away all my money in books right now and then wear tattered rags and go in front of their house and beg for a bowl of rice, they're still going to say, oh, this is some kind of act. Because you can't satisfy these people. If someone hates you and you make a move which they believe is a misstep, which a lot of people think what I'm doing now is just like they thought. Now we're going to pile on. We're going to push him down while we lift ourselves up. I'm sure you're not the only one who has seen some heavy-duty Manospherians attacking me in the past week with various lies. I don't know if you want to name names, but I'm sure many know who they are. And as for destroying my brand, I don't care about brand. I care about my life, my soul. A brand is nothing. A brand is worthless. You have the best brand in the world. If it's damaged, corrupted, that brand isn't meaningless. In fact, that brand that you're hanging on to is actually blocking you from taking the next important step. So listen, people are going to hate on me. I'm sure you've known of my work for a long time.
Sure.
People hate on now I'm getting attacked by everyone. At first it was by the left.
Your haters have definitely
the
increased.
feminists. Now I am being mocked by everyone. I am reducing my income. If this is a publicity stunt to increase my wealth and girls, it's the dumbest one that men could ever do.
No, listen, I would agree with you. And see, here's the thing, Roosh. A lot of people tend to forget that we are people, right? And it may not, like we say we're people, of course, Donovan, of course you're people, but stuff like that matters. Like, we all go through experiences that shape us, but content creators like ourselves, we're held to what I like to call sort of an unfair, consistent standard. And what I mean by that is that people like to say, Donovan, you said 3 years ago on Return of Kings that you'd never be in a long-term relationship, but you're in one now. And to that I say, I reserve the right to change my mind for whatever reason I want to. I'm a different person now than I was 3 years ago, and my circumstances and my mindset are different now from what they were 3 years ago. I'm 41 years old, Roosh. I'm going to be a much different person at 51 than I am now. With new information and new experiences, my viewpoint on certain elements of my life are going to change. I think it's a disingenuous standard to put on someone when the standard setters change their minds and viewpoints all the time. So what are your thoughts on men who make drastic changes like this, but then catch heat for making those changes because they've been a certain way for so long?
People want you to remain in the state where you are useful to them.
Bingo!
If you have a belief that is helpful to someone else, helpful for them to extract from the world to receive benefits, they love you. They love you because the relationship between you is not like a friend.
Right.
It's a business. It's a transactional. You help me get the girls I want, and I'll help you by singing your praises, posting on your forum, buying books.
There you go.
But the second you dare change your opinion out of my belief system, then we're going to have a problem. Then I'm going to label all kinds of names on you. I'm going to call you a phony, a fraud. I'm going to say you are contradicting, blah, blah, blah. But when you were doing what I wanted you to do, you were great. You were my favorite e-celeb on the internet. So really, it's unreasonable to expect you to remain static too. Now, of course, there's an issue if someone's changing their mind every day. But if someone is on a path and you see them going towards that path, you can't be shocked if there's going to be changes that come from that. Because when I originally posted taking the God pill, people thought that was, that's fine. Roosh is just doing his own thing. But the second that an actual sacrifice has to be made because of it, then they lose their minds.
Now there's a problem, right?
Right.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. People are always on board with, and this is life in general. People are always on board with you as long as they are getting something out of you. This doesn't mean that friendships you form within religion or the red pill or anything else, that doesn't mean that they're not genuine. But I think it would be how can I put this? It would be very naive to think that all friendships on some level are not mutually beneficial. And when it becomes mono beneficial instead of beneficial to both people, somebody's going to have a problem with that. And listen, man, you're an influential guy and you're catching heat from all ends because you are no longer teaching them how to get girls. Oh, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So one thing is that even your real life friends, people face to face, they can flake on you. They can let you down. There's that term fair weather friends, right? So now can you imagine internet friends? Internet friends are not friends.
Right.
A lot of people who create content, they get a lot of compliments online.
Yes.
But it's not real. There's no foundation to it. So I don't get attached to it. So this is why I'm able to endure when the world hates me. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird relationship between someone on the internet who's creating content and people who follow him. You're not a friend. It's not purely a business transaction either. It's weird. It's in the middle. But one thing I can tell you is that if you are dictating your life based on what your internet friends want you to do, you're being led by them.
Yes.
You're not leading them. And I'm not saying I want to lead anyone, but if you really care about what the mob says, and the mob exists on your side too. I've seen that last week. People on my forum who have been posting for years, they insulted me in vile ways. One, they said I was going mentally insane. One said I have a brain tumor. So, I mean, these are people that you would think they're posting on my forum, and some of them have been doing it for a long time. They're my friends, but they're not, because, you know, the second you go against what they want, you're going to find out how much of a friend they are. So this is why being a creator, if you don't watch it, if you only listen to the compliments and let yourself be steered by it, you will be a slave to the mob. You will be a slave to them to keep your brand going, to keep your income, to keep the book sales and the clicks going. So this is why, you know, in one way, I wish I didn't have all that. I wish I didn't have all these people following everything I've done, because I can't explain the amount of people who have been mocking me. And again, I can take it, but it's high, and most men cannot take that. You know, they simply cannot do what their tribe or what tribe they think they're in.
Right.
So I know this path is going to be hard. I mean, look, going against the work you've been doing for your entire life, that's going to cause a problem. It's not easy, and I anticipate I'll probably lose about half of my audience. And look, if I believe that I'm doing the right thing, and I do, this is it. I mean, there's no consensus of other people that are just friends on the internet. Of course, my close friends I talk to, I consult with them, my circle of trust.
Sure.
But listen, if you bought a book of mine, I thank you, but I gave you the book. I gave you what you gave me the money for, and I'm thankful. But I don't owe you eternal satisfaction. Wow. I can't do that. That's too much of a burden for me to bear. So please understand that I'm my own man too. And if you like me, if you respect the judgments I've made in the past, you're just going to have to adopt a wait and see attitude.
That's a very interesting thing, because... And again, I haven't had success on your level, but I've never really thought about that. I've never really thought about the fact that if someone buys a product of mine, if they consume my content, it's almost like you sign sort of an unwritten contact, or an unwritten contract, sort of an unwritten pact that says, okay, Donovan Sharpe, I've consumed this content as you are now. You owe me to be this way for the rest of your life, or until I decide that you are no longer useful to me. Now, you influence a lot of men. Like, you are one of the most influential men in the Manosphere. A lot of your followers they're hardcore Roosh V Red Pillars. So what do you say to guys who ask themselves, holy shit, Roosh is a Christian now. What am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to do now?
You know, I don't have any specific advice for anyone right now, because like we talked about earlier, every man has his own path. All I'm going to do, all I can promise everyone that I'm going to do, is just to testify, just to share what has happened to me in my life, where I'm going, and why I came to believe those things. And in the scope of a 1 hour talk, there's no way I can do that. So it's going to happen through a lot of articles. And I'm just going to share with you my experiences like I always have. I've always shared, just what I'm doing. It would be a lie otherwise. So when I was in the club, obsessed with sex, I shared that. Now I'm not in the club anymore. And you can say, oh, Roosh is like, I saw a lot of comments. Roosh is like a 40-year-old cat lady. She hit the wall, and while men and women are different,
right?
Okay, you can say that, but listen, if it happens to me, if something of this nature happens to me, you're not immune either. A lot of men say, I'm different, I'm better than Roosh, my girls are hotter than his, I'm more successful than him. So because they've invested so much, and like we've invested so much into a certain lifestyle, that if someone who was in it comes out of it, you want to attack him, so that you don't have to question if you're making the right moves or not. Like
so then it's almost like they're holding you responsible for their decisions.
So when people attack me for the action I took in the past week on the forum, what they're really attacking is their choice to continue living that type of life. Because how many hours have we spent learning game, hitting on girls, maintaining thousands of hours? And now it's just, most men will never be able to admit to themselves that those tens of thousands of hours in the gym too, you have to include that.
Oh yeah.
Those tens of thousands of hours was a waste.
Yes.
It's very hard. It takes no ego. You have to lay your ego out and steamroll over it. But that's what I've done. I have to be honest, and being honest starts with yourself. Yeah. Most of it, maybe most of our women for sex was a waste. Tens of thousands of hours. I'm pulling 11 books I've written off. How many hundreds of hours I spent on that? So that kind of tells me that my judgment, as smart as I think I am, the judgment of human beings is not sound. And I've went down the wrong path and wasted a lot of time. And other men don't want to have to even question that they may have made the wrong choices too.
It's very interesting that you say that, and I've got some super chats and some questions here for you, some really good questions here for you. I don't consider the fact that I don't consider it a waste that I learned, that I spent thousands of hours in game. What I regret is what I did it for. And I say this all the time, dude. When I think of the thousands of hours I spent out there in fucking 115 degree heat on the Vegas Strip, talking to this girl and that, here and there, and I think to myself, I didn't really have to do these things. All I had to do was just be the best version of myself, and women probably would have found me anyway. And I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but again, I'm in a long-term relationship now, and I have said now for years that the player lifestyle, to me, it's a cool lifestyle to live for a while, but there's nothing to be compared to having a relationship with a woman. This doesn't mean that a woman is the key to your happiness as a man. What I'm saying is that one relationship with one woman that you can maybe trust is better than going out chasing ass every night. What say you?
Yeah, for every man it's kind of different, and there's no way to say what a man should come into. But I can say that a lot of the problems of men start from saying, "I want a woman. I need a woman." Once you do that, now you've dedicated a big portion of your life towards a being who is more flawed than you. So now you crave and need a human being who has more problems, who is less able to see the reality of the world than you. So what you're basically doing is you are going to now allow whether you perceive is a problem, arguments, drama, all that stuff is going to come into your life because you think you need a woman. And I'm not going to give the answer that you should give up on them. I think there's a time and place, but this relentless pursuit, obsession over them in the form of modern dating, it doesn't work. Most men will fail in finding the one. And I'm not saying just because you become a Christian that suddenly you should wife up a woman. No, the world is still wrong. The world is still in a heightened state of evil, and you have to be extremely careful no matter what your beliefs are. But unfortunately, it's this strong desire that's going to get man in a lot of trouble. I mean, I've heard just as many stories as religious men wave red flags, and they get burned just as much as anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
So really, it's not about just because I have this belief system or not that I can go for a relationship or that, but it's about solving the problem within you first, because you have to ask yourself, why do I want a woman, or why do I feel like I need one? If it's because you are lonely, if it's because you need sex, you're going to dedicate thousands of hours into something where the problem is not going to be solved. If you need a woman for something a little bit higher, for a purpose that's a little bit higher, then I think you are less of a chance to get burned. But every man is going to have to figure that out on his own, and I'm going to try to help them as my path goes forward too.
Well said. Big thanks to Paul Sanabria with the $10 super chat. He says, keep educating. Sam Quincy with the $1 super chat. Appreciate that. Another $2 super chat. They deleted the message, so I don't know who it was from. Freelance Ronan says, drop the tip in the jar. Appreciate that, Freelance Ronan. Conk with the $10 super chat asks you a question. He says, Christian Red Pill guy here. Why did you pick Eastern Orthodox as a specific organization? Why not just be non-denomination Christian? Do your own thing without being chained to church tradition? That's a very good question.
Because in which church am I going to take my mom?
That makes sense.
You know, my mom baptized me when I was 9, and she baptized me in an Armenian Apostolic Church.
Okay.
And now I'm going to church with my mom, so I'm spending quality time with my mom. And these are questions. Listen, I'm still a baby when it comes to this. I cannot discuss doctrines, church, and how it's organized, you know, Catholicism versus Orthodoxy versus all this stuff. So ask me in about a year.
Okay. All right. Very good. Tomasero with the $25 super chat says, Galatians 1:10. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. What are your thoughts on that? That sounds pretty accurate if you are a Christian.
Again, you know, I don't want to say what defines being a good Christian or not. You know, I can't speak of those things. But for me, I can just tell you that I'm just trying to avoid wrong, you know, just trying to and heal from the wrongs that I have done. As I've said before, E. Michael Jones, who I greatly respect, said that my years of sex was evil. And so I need to heal from that. So this is for the first time in 20 years, I'm not talking to women. I'm not acting. So I'm just taking a break because I really do need to put that past life to rest, heal from that. And then once I feel healed, it comes after that.
Do you regret, and this is just a question of my own, do you regret having slept with hundreds of women, or do you somehow think, all right, well, because I've had all of this success with women, I would not be at this point if I had the success with women that I've had?
Yeah, I mean, if you change a bit of your past, would you still arrive to the present or not? Or would your life take a completely different turn? And there's no way to know that. But I mean, I think, I don't know if we're all given a certain path or if we're supposed, you know, one thing I read is that the vices that you have, and we each have a different combination of vice within us. Some people are gluttons, some people are prone to others. But it's really, God wants you to come to him through your vice, getting a handle on it. Once you get a handle on that vice, you become closer to him. So my vice, my two biggest ones, is pride and lust. And people can argue that all the sins come from pride. But anyway, so I came to him from one way was through controlling the lust that I had, which I can say, a lot of people say Roosh is 40, his T levels are down. Man, now it's harder than ever now for me to like, if I see a good looking girl right now, it's tough. Like, I have a system of how to combat the urges to think of her in a sexual way. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you talk about self-improvement. This is something else, you know? So
yeah, my God.
So yeah, exactly. You have to pray to him to stop
dude, I'm telling you what, man.
At women.
I'm telling you what. That's really, to be honest with you, to control your lust. I think God is really the only way you can do that.
Because it's not just your actions, but your thoughts too. Because your thoughts are a gateway to action, right?
Okay.
So controlling your thoughts about other women and sex, that's the hardest thing I have ever done.
Oh, dude.
It's much harder than going to the club and running around and hitting on whichever girl looks good enough, you know, or especially after you have a few drinks in a bar, every girl looks great. You're just so loose and it's fun. But to control it, yeah, I mean, anyone who says this is easy, I'm taking the easy path,
hell no,
is wrong.
No. I think that's
especially in this day and age where now it's warm, women are dressed practically naked. I mean, it's just a nonstop barrage of butts. And unfortunately, in the United States, those butts are really large and obese. But I mean, there's still skin everywhere.
Jesus Christ, man. That's great. A barrage of butts. NGA Wang with the $10 super chat says, Roosh has given so much value to the Manosphere. Thanks for the conversation, Donovan. Jeremy with the $50 super chat says, doing good work. Let me scroll down here. Paul Sanabri with another super chat for $10. He says, understanding compassion, love. Enjoy your new journey, young man. Andrew Torba with the $10 super chat says, quote, Brother Saul the Lord, Jesus who appeared to you on the road as you were coming here, has sent me so that you may see again and be filled with the Holy Spirit. Acts 9:17. He says he is praying for you, Roosh. So you seem to be getting a lot of support here in the chat. Of course, I have Sharpe Assist, who is sharpshooter light out here, sniping down all of the haters. This is, you speak like a man who, and I think that this is a natural transition for anyone. You can never be one way forever. And I remember you and I, we were chatting off the air. I referenced the conversation you had with Quintus years ago when you said, you know what, right now, I thought that I was going to be a 60-year-old guy in the shopping mall asking young hot girls where the pet shop was, and this was a few years ago. You said, dude, I just turned 36. I can't even stand to be in a club for 15 minutes now. To me, I think that this, just like you said, I think that it's inevitable. You go through enough pussy, you go through enough girls, and at some point you're going to go through a transition. It's inevitable. It's almost like Donald Trump, not to get political here, but Obama was so far to the left, the country overcorrected. That's how we got Donald Trump. We don't get Donald Trump without Obama. We don't get Christian Roosh without bang Ukraine Roosh. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and when your ego is at its highest, you try, so you think you're going to be the man forever and ever, that aging is not going to affect you, that boredom is not going to affect you, that repeating a certain action 100,000 times, that's not going to change your perception of the fun. So, I mean, you get you can say it's buying your own hype, but it's a form of delusion too. I deluded myself into thinking game was going to be this eternal activity that's going to give me constant joy. And after really a few years when I was at my peak of it, which I would say is probably started in 2012. I had 4 years that were really, I would say, intense. But really, starting after 2012, I started to come down from it, but I didn't want to accept it. I held on because I didn't know what else to do, and I thought that this was it, having a mobile, independent lifestyle. There in life. Well, or only girls, and I convinced myself that without a woman, without the constant access of them, my life would suck. I would suffer. I would be in misery and pain. And now I don't have any girl. I'm not flirting with any girl, not talking to them. I don't feel any type of pain. I mean, you can really convince yourself that you need this, whether it's a woman, a car, but you have to understand that your judgment of these things and the value of these things in time will be made apparent that they were all wrong.
Not only that, I think that because it's, and a lot of people would say, well, Donovan, Roosh, it's easy for you guys to say that women aren't that important because we've been through hundreds of women, right? And I would agree with that. It's very easy for a man to say, you know what, women aren't all they're cracked up to be. Ask a guy who owns 74 Lamborghinis. Lamborghinis are nice, but they're really not necessary. My question to you is, can a man come to the conclusion that you have come to without having run through hundreds of hoes, or does it take having had success with women to come to this conclusion?
A man has on a path where it's humble. Okay. If your heart is hard, if you are not humbled, you won't ever get on your knees and pray to God. It just will not happen. If you're in your 20s at the top of life and you feel strong and able, why are you going to pray to God? You're at the peak of your strength. You're going to conquer the world. There's girls checking you out, and your gym games are great. You got your game books, and you got your boys. You're going out. What you don't need God in the good times, which is why most people, women and men in their 20s, they don't. I mean, few of them do, but they don't need God at that time.
Nobody ever finds God when they're financially set. Nobody ever finds God when their life is great. And
no one also prays to God when life is really comfortable either. Right. And I believe comfort is actually a tool of Satan. And for me, just hitting the dead end of game, experiencing a loss, that really humbled me. For the first time in my life at 38, 39, I felt completely powerless. For the longest time, I had power. I could solve my problems. I could solve my girl problems, my money problems, travel, entertainment. I could solve everything, But then for the first time, I couldn't solve a problem, and that's when it happened. But to all the men say, well, Roosh, it's easy for you to say. You got to plow through all those girls and have fun. Well, I'll tell you what, I pray now that I could forget those. I pray that I can forget all those encounters. I'm embarrassed.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm embarrassed. I was like an animal. I was like a monkey. I thought I was being smart, red-pilled, intelligent. I was a monkey. I was no different than a dog humping a couch pillow. I was no different. And now I can see it because my mental orientation changed. But to all this, I wish I could forget it because unfortunately the flesh does. It makes it that much harder to be good now because I remember how it is. I remember how to hold a woman and thrust into her. I mean, it doesn't go away. I still get dreams. The dreams come to me too. So, but to all those, I mean, again, guys have to see if this guy is willing to throw it away and not really. Yeah. Want to do it, why? And that's, if you ask yourself why, you will prompt a more honest evaluation in just one girl.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now. I got a question here from a prominent red pill leader who shall remain nameless. He wants to know if you are in a long-term relationship. Oh, wait, I can't hear you.
Monk.
There we are.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I said, no, I'm not. I am basically a monk living in the world. I'm not talking to girls or having any sexual encounters.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about shrooms, man.
Okay.
So you did shrooms, you're on camera. Talk to me about that particular experience, because a lot of people are pointing to that. They say Roosh had his very first psychedelic experience, psychoactive drugs, this and that and the other. This is why he found God. Clear the air on that.
So like I told you, I prayed. I started to pray, and I started to receive answers. And actually, this is something I'm going to talk more about on a tour. I'm saying 8 article about it. But anyway, so what the mushrooms did, and I don't advise people to take it because I've talked to other people who have taken it and they haven't had the same experience as me. So don't think that taking this drug is a shortcut to anything. And a lot of people are misrepresenting my experience on it. I haven't even shared it. But one thing I can say is that I turned to God, and then I did try it. And what the mushrooms did, it allowed me to see the world for how it is.
Okay.
It's a world that I knew existed, but the experience affirmed it. So what the mushrooms did, it affirmed the path that I was on. So it made it clear that, yes, Roosh, you are on the right path. What you believed about the world is how it really is. Because what the mushrooms does, it removes the perceptual and the social filters that you have, and it removes it. So you see the world more in a raw type of way. And so that's what it did. And it kind of, again, I ask, did I have to take it? No, I didn't have to take it to get here, but it kind of served as a boost. It served as a, no, you are definitely in keep.
Okay. Let's go back to your sister, if you don't mind, because there was a question that was asked a while back. How, and I know the death of your sister is a very, very sensitive topic, so you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But what about your sister's death made you question everything? What about your sister's death? Because in my estimation, I think that your sister's death had a much more profound effect on you than freaking shrooms, right? How did that event in your life, how exactly did that sort of get the gears going?
It was because you saw that there was a person that you knew that was close to you that continually made you happy, that gave meaning and purpose.
Right.
You had that person in your life, but you chose to travel the world. You choose to do other things. And of course, I kept in touch with her. I called her every week. We texted almost daily and so on. But I wasn't there with her. Instead, I was pursuing faraway things in order to find this eternal. And I was getting happy through all the sex and the fun. But once my sister was gone, all those things didn't bring me happiness because they never made me happy. People close to me that made me happy. So once if everything is okay, your parents are healthy, your siblings are fine, it's easy to travel.
Absolutely.
But then because what the travel is just, and the girls, it's a distraction, right? Because you think you're going to find something. So when my sister was gone, I was like, wait, why am I doing this? It doesn't even, when she's in my life, having fun, doing all these things is fine. But when she's not in my life, these things serve no purpose. No purpose. It's just, again, like I'm chasing after a new town where I'm a glorified tourist, just traveling, sipping on my coffee.
Right.
So when meaning is lost from your life, you can't replace it by unmeaning. So so you can't replace a relative with casual sex with women who don't care about you. My sister, she loved me. And now I'm sleeping with girls who don't. And I think that that's going to even begin to replace anything. Right. So really that was unfortunately when, so then I thought, man, all those years I spent traveling, I wish I just stayed home. Just, having more experiences with her would have made me 10 times happier. So that's what her death did.
Wow, I've never really thought of it that way. If any of my siblings were to die, for me, that makes sense. The world would stop. That would almost really sort of, I don't want to say it would reprogram me, but it would definitely cause me to sort of reevaluate my life. So it makes sense that it would happen to you. One thing that I like about you is that people see that you're a human being. You're not some pickup robot machine, point and thrust. Like, you're a real person. Like, you've gone like we see early pictures of you. Your beard is gray now. I mean, you really are sort of, you're living your life. You're living your life very publicly. People who knew you when you were the DC Bachelor have probably followed you all the way through the Roosh V Forum, Return of Kings. You had your run there, bang all these other countries, Estonia, Colombia, et cetera, and now you're transitioning into another part of your life. To me, I think it's actually pretty cool that guys like you can just be completely honest about where you are in life and really not worry about that. Worry about what other people think.
Yeah, but the downside is that when you're a figure in public, to live in a fishbowl, everyone is itching to comment on your moves, even though you only, let's say I share only maybe 5 to 10% of what goes on in my day-to-day life. People are just obsessed with wanting to get one up on you, and this is, so to live, I have 2 brothers that are young guys. Don't become a public figure. It's not worth it. I mean, you have to live in the judgment of others constantly. Whether you have a failure, a success, people are just going to be riding you constantly. It's not fun, but hey, this is the path I'm on. And if anyone can handle it, it's me. So this is the life I have. I can choose to shut everything down, but I haven't. I think this is my specific path. I don't advisor for others to just get a YouTube channel and put their face and their life out there. It's especially in this day and age where the world is getting tough. People are getting angry. I think politics in the USA is a good sign of that.
Yeah.
People are angry. People are furious in public. You're seeing it. People are just not happy.
All that.
And now you want to put yourself in public to be judged by these unhappy people? Please do anything else.
Last two questions as we sort of round third and head for home. Are you going to stay a Christian for the... I mean, listen, nobody knows the future. Anything can happen. But I think a common question out there is Roosh going to be a Christian for the rest of his life, or is he going to make another change? Do you... Again, nobody can tell the future. Do you foresee this being a permanent change? Because, dude, you're not even 40 years old yet. You are still a very young man. You know, provided you don't get hit by a bus or anything crazy like that, you're going to live into your 80s, possibly even your 90s. What's next for Roosh?
Yeah, and I say to that, thank God I found Christ before I hit the end of the road. I mean, Thank God that, yeah, you say I'm young, I'm 40, but the God pill is the last pill.
Okay.
After you take that pill, there is nowhere else to go. I've tried everything else. I tried Buddhism, did some Zen, Tao, Stoicism. You know, I lived the atheist life in my earlier time. I was semi-agnostic for a period of time. I tried to extract from the world everything I possibly can. While I'm not the richest man, I haven't been the richest man in the world. I haven't traveled to the most country. I haven't banged the most amount of girls. I got a pretty good taste, and I got some things you can get of the world I have gotten. And where is there to go after God? There is nowhere else to go. This is, to me, it seems like, and listen, I can't guarantee anything in public. And this is a question that's like, Roosh, prove to me that you have this faith. And I don't have to judge. I mean, I don't have to put myself before judgment to others, whether my faith is true or not. Only God knows. But where there's the way I feel like I'm in a comfortable chair that I don't need to get up from. I don't need to run around anymore. I don't need to travel anymore. There's no more countries that I need to go to.
Sure.
There's nothing more I need to accomplish. There's no more girls I need to sleep with.
You have nothing left to prove
whatever. Yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. I hit the end of what the material world could give me. And again, people will argue, well, you didn't really achieve anything. Okay, that's fine. But in my mind, there's nothing else to do. Right. And so the last thing is to make peace with the force that I believe created us all. And that's where I'm at. And I'm spending my days reading and studying, because all those years I was banging, I should have been probably putting my efforts, my intellectual efforts, into something else.
Okay. And listen, before I ask this last question, man, Roosh, once again, dude, dynamite conversation, man. I think it's an understatement when I say you have laid bare your very soul on my show now twice. I remember the last time you were on, you kept it real. You said, listen, I was in a relationship. I found out she was doing some things. I was hurt. I thought she was the one. It took a lot of balls for somebody like you to say that, right? And so I appreciate your candor and I appreciate your honesty. But my very last question for you, before it gets too dark, that you start getting attacked by, fireflies and
roaming the streets.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you had it to do all over again, right? So what would 39-year-old Roosh tell 19-year-old Roosh? What would you tell him to do? What would you tell him not to do?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. The first thing that comes to mind is, if I knew in hindsight that my sister would die at 31, I would not have left the United States.
Okay.
I would have stayed. That's the only thing that, other than that, seems like I intend, or I'm deeply considering moving back to the United States. So It seems like, as much as I try to expatriate, to be a resident in a foreign country, I'm basically a glorified tourist the entire time. It's not my home. I don't belong in these other countries. I don't want to be a foreigner forever. And while in some cases in the United States, in the Washington, D.C. area, I feel like a foreigner because not many people speak English anymore.
Right. Yeah, right.
Look, I know it kind of sucks. It's just roads. It's just cars being stuck in traffic and concrete. It's not great, but I think probably if I could make one change, I would have stayed in the USA. I look back to my travel experiences as a rewarding time in that it got me to here, it got me back. But it's just traveling. It's just, I mean, now everyone's doing it. I mean, we've hit this peak travel moment where everyone just wants to travel the world and take Instagram selfies on cliffs and then fall off the cliff. I mean, you don't have to fall off the cliff in a literal way, but consider the opportunity cost. All those years you spend abroad, you come back, you've changed, your country has changed, but you have to start from ground zero. I think, it's easy to, and the advice I've given men is, hey, if your country is not good, if you're not getting the goals you want, just leave, just go somewhere else. I've written many books about that.
Yes,
but I mean, but now I can see in some cases, unless you start a family in a foreign country, you're really just putting yourself through a glorified entertainment loop. You're kicking the can down the road, because what are you going to do when your parents get old and sick? Are you still going to have your fun in wherever, Colombia, Poland?
Wow.
So there's this kind of home. Listen, we don't get to pick our home. Our parents picked our home for us. We have no choice, and trying to rebel against this choice by picking our own home will result in 10 years of just wasted time. When if I stayed in the United States, I would have probably had my own home. I would have probably had a farm and pugs, but now I am doing a live stream in a cafe like a homeless person.
There was some guy on a smartphone right behind you about 30 minutes ago. I was like, I wonder if he's watching this live stream in the chat. Yo, I'm the guy behind Roosh. Real quick before we end this, it's interesting. When you were at the height of your powers, it was about a 4-year span where you're just running through hoes. I think because at the height of my powers in Las Vegas, it was a 3.5-year stretch where it was girls and cocaine and liquor and just, and it's weird because you don't realize when it doesn't become worth it to you anymore, when it then becomes a job, that's when you know, okay, it might be time for me to transition to another part of your life. And I think the moral of the story here is that you can't be a player forever. You can't be banging hoes every day of your life until you kick the bucket. Because in the grand scheme of things, Roosh, I think you and I have probably figured out there is much more to life than women. Listen, women are everything until, of course, you have an abundance of them. Ask Elliot Rodger, right? Ask Andreas Lubitz. Ask those guys. But once you experience something in abundance, it really becomes less important. It's just like supply and demand.
Yeah, and one thing that men don't understand is that the success they think they're having is really building momentum for when they fall. The more success you have, the harder the landing is. So there's a lot of guys that say, well, I ran some game and I found a wife and I did fine. Yeah, he had a softer landing because he wasn't dedicating his life to game for 15 years. Yeah, so really, I achieved, so all those girls I was plowing through, I didn't know it at the time, but it's building speed for when I fall off. And I fell off, and again, in addition to the other loss I fell hard. I was in a deep pit, and then I could do my streams and laugh and stuff like that. But once that camera goes off, it wasn't good.
Right.
And so that's what men have to understand, that, you have to pay it back. You will pay it back in some way, not in the afterlife, but now you will pay it back in this life for the senseless activities that you do that you think are making you a successful man. You will pay it back sooner than you think.
Well said. All right, Roosh, tell the guys where they can find you. Tell them about your tour. Is Roosh V still going to be up? What's going on here over the next few weeks?
Yeah, all my sites are going to stay up. I'm starting my tour next month. I'm starting in Boston, June 21st. So guys who want to see me live, go to rougeve.com, and there's a link to the tours site. But that's all I've been doing right now. And one thing, I know I've been trying to control my ego, but I just have to make one statement to people who are doubting me is, if you've been following me for a while, have I been wrong? Please point to me where I've been wrong, not only with what the culture is going, but the direction that men should be going too. So I think my track record speaks for itself. Again, excuse this display of ego.
No, of course not.
But I mean, I just don't get I just don't get why guys do not trust my judgment. You know, have I proved that my judgment is bad?
Here's the thing. You said it at the beginning of the broadcast. They only trust and like your judgment when it is beneficial to them in terms of getting what they want. But now that you can't get what they want, which is more girls, more money, more women, oh, now all of a sudden Roosh is wrong. You can't have it both ways.
Well, men who just see me as a tool, then you know, I don't care what they think, because they're going to be here today, gone tomorrow. Right. But for men who are not sure, who are on the fence, just look at what I've done in the past. Just trust me. You know, I think I know what I'm doing, and I think that my past has shown that.
Okay, very good. One word answer. Last question. Do you still consider yourself red pill?
Hold on one second. There is staff that thinks I'm homeless. Okay, no, the staff came out. Okay, do I?
Sorry,
I'm being shut down.
Go back to your cardboard box out there on
Dude, listen, I have a laptop stand, I have a webcam, I have a light, I have
what homeless person can afford all that? I think it's the beard. Okay. I think it's the beard, dude.
As for am I still red pill, the problem is that a lot of people in the manosphere believe that having no self-control is red pill. And if a guy thinks, you know, having no self-control is being red pill, being a slave to your passions is red pill, by that definition, no, I'm not. Okay. But if we're using the definition of red pill as the truth of the material world, then yes, I mean, there's still the world, I'm still in it, and I believe in the truth of that. But it's very easy to distort the definition of what red pill is and say, yeah, man, chasing after girls and being a dog and being a slave to every girl I see and drinking alcohol and trying to hump, that's red pill. I disagree with you. I don't think that is. I wouldn't say that is blue pill. I don't know what that is, but I did it for a long time. One thing I'll say is I thought I was the height of red pill when I was not. Again, this self-delusion is very strong. Just be careful about trusting your judgment. You are not your own God. I thought I was my own God. You know, it doesn't help to trust maybe someone who's been through what you've been through, but are a few years in front of you. A lot of my judgments were wrong. My emotions were wrong. My instincts, some of them, they were wrong. And I think only now they are a little bit more solid, but we have to be careful. What is the red pill?
Right. Wow. I think that's probably going to be a question that will be asked more and more going forward. Roosh, as always, thanks for making time for us, man. Thank you for braving the perils of people accusing you of being homeless. You're welcome on my show anytime. Hopefully when you come to Philly, we can get together, have a beer, shoot the shit, and go from there, man.
Definitely. Okay, Donovan.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Roosh. I'm going to be on for just a few minutes more. Get out of there before they kick you out.
Okay.
Roosh V, gentlemen. Man, I'll tell you what, dude. Roosh is as authentic as they come. As I turn this off. There we go. Excellent. Yeah, Roosh is Roosh is a very interesting character. You can say whatever you want about Roosh. Oh God, I'm turning off TVs. I've got 3 50-inch monitors in front of me, guys. Forgive me. Shout out to Charles Caballero with the $5 with the $4.99 super chat. Say what you will about Roosh, man. The guy is always honest to a fault, man. Agree or disagree with what he says or doesn't say. The guy lays bare his soul, man. He doesn't pull any punches. He tells you guys the good, the bad, the ugly. He didn't have to tell us that his sister died. He didn't have to come on my show and tell me that he had been in a relationship that he thought would actually go somewhere. He didn't have to do any of that stuff. But he still chose to. So listen, you can say whatever you want. I mean, if you trust your own judgment, he said it right there. He's right there on the record. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Be sure to sign up for the Donovan Sharpe newsletter. That is donovansharpe.com/newsletter. Please be sure to sign up for my Patreon. I'm gonna leave this up on YouTube. If you want the audio version of this particular interview, just become a Patreon at patreon.com/Donovan Sharpe, and you'll be able to listen to this particular interview. I'm probably going to make it live. I'll probably put it on Patreon probably sometime tomorrow, maybe tomorrow afternoon. It takes a while to process. But again, listen, thank you to all of my chatters. Thank you to all of my thanks to the mod squad, the sniper rifle, the sniper squad, getting all the trolls out of here. Thank you guys for all of your wonderful questions. Let me thank my super chatters, man. Paul Sanabria, Andrew Torba. Let me oh crap, it won't let me scroll up. The guy who donated $50. Thank you guys very much for the super chats. It is always fun. It is always a lot of fun doing these particular TSR specials. I will be back on the air Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern. That is 10 a.m. Pacific on TSR Live. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.